Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and tonight I'm proud to bring you the scholars from the edge of time, Nicholas Diak and Michele Brittany. Greetings and welcome, O scholars. How are you on this fine day?
Doing very well, and greetings to you, Hercules. Hope your
Thank
week
you.
is
My
going
chihuahua
well.
might be joining us shortly. She's scratching my legs, so that means she wants to jump up on my lap. So,
Aw.
Yes, and we have our resident kitty that joins us with every podcast.
hi, Kitty.
This is Cecily.
Hi, Cecily.
Yeah, and she's named after the character from The Importance of Being Earnest. So we also have an Algernon. He is not, well, he's behind us on the floor, so can't see him right now.
I have Sophia right here. I don't know if you can, there she is.
Oh,
Upper.
she is a sweetie.
She likes kissing my nose and keeping it nice and shiny.
Yes.
Her name is Theosophia, which means divine wisdom. But we shorten that to Sophia because it's too much to be saying Theosophia.
You know, that's interesting because when we got Cecily, her original name was Sophia.
Oh, awesome. Everybody
Yeah.
should know Sophia.
Yeah, she was a good Sophia, but we had already kind of picked out names, and so we did change it to Cecily, but she originally was a Sophia.
Else in common. That is a very good thing. So,
Yeah.
what are the scholars bringing to us tonight?
Well, I guess news-wise, not too much is going on. Still working on the Emmanuel book, and
Mummy book. Mm-hmm.
but I think we got a few show and tell items real quick.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, so do you want me to start?
Yeah, ladies first.
Sure. Well, because April has a fifth Tuesday of the month, listeners and viewers will have the pleasure of seeing us next week on Tuesday.
Awesome.
So in anticipation of that, Netflix has quite a selection of antiquity focused programming, and I was very interested and watched Alexander, the Making of a God. And I'm going to talk about that next week. So if anybody wants to follow along and kind of have an idea what I'm talking about, there's time to watch the program. I think it's 8 episodes, about an hour each. It's a limited series. But I did pick up a book in anticipation of talking a little bit more about that program. And it's called Persians, The Age of the Great Kings. And it's written by Lloyd Llewellyn Jones. He is actually one of the scholars, subject matter experts on the documentary. So I thought it would be interesting to pick up his book and have a read. I won't be done with the book by the time Tuesday rolls around, but I'm hoping to kind of inject some of his writings as well as talk about this show.
That is awesome, and I'm looking forward to it, as always.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you?
I'm still TBD on next week, but I've got 2 books for show and tell.
Okay.
The first one is Helen of Troy and Hollywood.
All
This
right.
book, yeah, I don't know too much about Helen of Troy. I actually picked this up because my book, The New Peplum, is cited in it. It looked really fascinating. It looks like it spends a lot of time on really old Helen of Troy silence and stuff, but also, oh, well, what do you know?
My author, Lloyd Llewellyn Jones, has a pull quote on the back of this book.
How serendipitous is that? Totally unknown. But also that cover rocks. It's very Art Deco-y. So I'll probably dive into this book a little bit later, but just pluck that one up. I know there's a chapter on Troy, the Wolfgang Peterson. That was Wolfgang Peterson, right?
I think so.
Or is it Ridley Scott? Which one? We'll say Wolfgang Peterson. He's on. Wait, it is him because I got the Droid clock sit right over there, duh. And some of the silence and whatnot. So excited for that book. And then the other book I got is the films of Tinto Brass. He does a lot of erotic films, emphasis on lady butts and stockings. But his big thing was he directed Caligula back in the 70s.
I remember that movie. I saw it in the theater when it came out.
Oh, cool. We've seen it on DVD. There's like 10 million cuts of that film, and they're releasing a brand new cut of it very soon. There is no shortages of that Caligula film. But yeah, there's an entire chapter on here about Caligula. So we'll see. I'll be curious what that has to say. But I'm a Tinto Brass fan. He's done other movies like Salon Kitty and Frivolous Lola and whatnot. But for the Peplum Library, the Caligula movie, because that launched a whole bunch of Italians cashing in on that to make, naughty derivatives like what is it? I have it up there. Caligula, the Untold Story, and Caligula and Messalina, and a whole bunch
Yes,
of other films of
I
similar.
remember those as well. There was a Caligula craze for a little while, and all sorts of Caligula films.
Yeah. So those are the two newest Sword and Sandal additions to the library. So maybe I'll do a book review on them. We'll see, but nice to have them there. The Tinto Brass book was actually a crowdfunded book from Cult Epics. So my name's shoved in the back there as one of the people that chipped in some money.
Oh, great.
Yeah. That's all I have.
Yeah, other than the fact that, we're working on house projects, as everyone may or may not remember, we moved into our first home a little over a year ago. And so we are getting the green thumbs and we planted potatoes and onions as our first efforts in kind of
Gardening.
backyard gardening here in Arizona. So we've already got the tarp out because anybody that's here in Arizona, we've already had temperatures up into the high 90s. Today's nicer. It's only in the low 80s, but we are enjoying getting some house projects done. So that's been nice to have opportunity to focus in on that and do things around the house.
That's exciting. We've been in our own home, this one for like a decade, and our other one, we were in Pennsylvania for a decade. And it's great. It's much better than living in an apartment, and there's
Yeah.
privacy, and you can make it more you. And so it's a great thing.
Yeah, and we're taking time now to plan out for autumn what we want to plant. So we've actually been both spending time drawing out, plans of where we want to put plants and things like that. We want to start a container garden and different things like that. So I think it'll be exciting over the next few months to just work on focusing on learning about gardening, since we lived in apartments for the longest time and really haven't had an opportunity to garden and kind of grow some food. And seems like the thing that we should be doing.
Are you going to be decorating for Halloween your home?
Hopefully so. We have a little issue with electricity and being able to get electricity out to the front of our house, but we do have a 7-foot black cat.
All right.
In anticipation that one year we'll get to do Halloween decorations. It's something I picked up through Amazon last year, and it's a really cute cat. And of course, we're a cat family. We've got 8. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to get some decorations out this Halloween. How about you? Do you do that?
Athena does. Athena's our decorator. She keeps things in the house moving. She's continuously changing the theme of all the things we have on top of flat surfaces, and so it's very exciting living in the same house. Never know what to expect, or it's always a pleasant surprise. But yeah, she makes a Halloween village inside, and she has like all these little houses and little figurines. And that changes every year as well. And then she hangs things up outside. Her most recent acquisition was a skeleton in a cage. So from one of our trees,
Oh.
we have like a cage hanging with a skeleton inside of it.
Oh, very cool. We do have some people in the neighborhood that do a lot for Halloween. That must be their favorite time of year. And just down the street, we had somebody did a cauldron that glowed green,
Oh, very
and
cool.
yeah, it was, and a couple of skeletons and things like that. And it was very well done. So they also had kind of the folk horror, almost Wicker Man kind of theme going on as well in a part of their front yard. So it was really neat. Don't think we can top that.
Well, you can try and you might succeed. And
That's true. That's true. So anyway, do you have anything
Nope.
else? Okay, then I guess maybe on to our movie.
Yeah. All right. So tonight we're going to be talking about a 1985 movie called Star Night. We were going to be doing our Bella Cortez retrospective, but I noticed in this box set, you know, one of those 50 movie box sets, this one's called Sci-Fi Invasion. And
I
it has,
have that one. Yeah.
yeah, it has a Bella Cortez film on it called, you know, Giant of Metropolis.
Mhm.
But as I was looking at the other films here, one caught my eye called Star Night, and read the plot. I'm like, oh, we got to talk about this film. And so we'll resume Bella Cortez stuff next month. But tonight is the night of Star Night.
Dun,
like
dun,
what you did there.
dun.
I like what you did.
I went with it. So here we go. Alchemist Bocus, Boecus, let's say Bocus, works late into the night, drawing a mystical circle on the ground. He cries out to summon the secret of secrets, of lead into gold, into eternal life. At that very moment, a blinding light flies through the sky. Over the next few days, there are reports of a dragon rampaging the land. Villagers gather at the Conde's castle, angry that they're paying so much in taxes, and yet the Conde cannot protect them from the dragon. The angry villagers are not the only thing that Conde has to worry about. His priest, Lupo, bombards him with requests to turn into a more devout life. His main soldier, Clever, begs to be made into a knight so he can marry Princess Alba, and his daughter, Princess Alba, is in her teenage years, full of wanderlust and romantic ideals. The only person who has any favor with the Conde is Bocus, who works on various panaceas to cure his various ailments. But during the day, Princess Alba sneaks out of the castle at the protest of her courtier and rides to a lake where she proceeds to skinny dip. The lake's water becomes rippled, and Alba disappears under the water. Her courtier flees back to the castle and says that the dragon took her. The Conde orders a mandatory funeral for his daughter, but during the ceremony, she appears. She's dazed and confused. The king requests Bocus to treat her, which he does using hypnosis. He learns about the dragon and the mysterious man in armor who took Alba in. Bocus travels to where the dragon is resting and learns the truth. The dragon is actually a spaceship, and the man is an alien from another world, and he has fallen in love with Princess Alba. The alien gifts the alchemist with an orb of knowledge, which he puts to use in his lab, creating an elixir of life. Under cover of night, the alien visits Princess Alba at the castle. Alba wants to be in love with him, but she is infuriated that he cannot take off his armor, which is his spacesuit, to properly touch her. Clever arrives and attacks the alien, but the alien and Alba flee the castle by jumping off a tower and onto his awaiting spaceship. The Conde's priest and Clever seize this opportunity to stage a coup. They lock the Conde in his room and arrest the alchemist and raid his lab. There, they find Bocus's research on the alien and use it to deduct how they can remove his suit of armor and tame his dragon. Using the alchemist as a hostage, the priest and Clever travel to where the dragon is, and Clever announces he wants to duel the alien to the death. with the hand of Princess Alba in marriage as the prize. The alien declines, and he frees Princess Alba, who is upset that the alien is not fighting for her, and he takes off in his spaceship. Clever sees this as a victory. But as they travel back to the castle, the alien reappears. He's on horseback. He has a spear and a shield, and he challenges Clever to a duel. The two fight, and Clever eventually getting the upper hand and performing a gesture that removes the alien's armor and makes it appear on himself instead. At the prospect of controlling the dragon, Clever and the priest make their way back to the spaceship, where they manage to become trapped inside. The spaceship takes off to the stars to return to its homeworld. Meanwhile, without his suit, the alien dies. However, Bocchus, who has hidden a small bit of his alchemy formula on him, uses it to resurrect the alien, who can now breathe the air. He gets dressed up as a knight and escorts the princess and the alchemist back to the castle, where he is welcomed with open arms as the slayer of the dragon and is offered Princess Alba's hand in marriage. The end.
So we had a good ending.
And how about Clever? What about Clever? He lost out.
Yeah.
And he
Sorry,
was willing to fight for the princess.
What's that?
And he was willing to fight for the princess.
Right? So, all right. So, Michele, overall, what did you think of Star Knight, aka The Knight and the Dragon? I think is the alternate title. The Knight of the Dragon.
The Knight of the Dragon.
There's a lot of wordplay here with knight and KNIT and NIT, or how do you spell them? I can't spell. So anyway, what did you think of Star Knight?
I enjoyed it. It was a fun film. It was entertaining. I like fantasy, so it definitely hit, the main kind of beats that you would have in a fantasy, but there was also a lot of humor and comedic moments in the film. And I know that we will talk at length about the fact that this stars Klaus Kinski and Harvey Keitel, which are two very unusual actors to have in a Spanish film, low budget.
Well, low budget I could see, especially for Klaus Kinski, but yeah, a Spanish fantasy film.
Yeah, which is definitely a little on the odder side. But definitely a fun film. Glad that we took a pause to have a look at this one and discuss it this evening. What about you?
Yeah, never heard of this film before ever, and saw it in that box, and the synopsis seriously was just knight goes to fight a dragon, but it's really a spaceship, and it has Klaus Kinski and Harvey Keitel. I'm like, oh, there's got to be some gold here. So we watched it, and I'll be honest, my expectations were I didn't know I was getting into it, so I expected it to be kind of low, and I really enjoyed it. I was expecting more camp, but instead it was actually kind of a charming and funny film. So yeah, it's a fantasy film. It's like, in the style of like Willow, and the not the barbarian sword and sorcery of the period, but the more fantasy of the Dark Crystal, probably another one in a similar vein and whatnot. So it's one of those types of films. It's just that it has a spaceship.
Yeah, and I know as we get going, but I will add that even though it's a lower budget, I think it was an equivalent like $4 million, which is not a lot, but a lot of the effects and the music and the fact that you have kind of famous stars in it. In addition to those two, they also had Miguel Bose, Bose, who was a Spanish pop singer and actor. So he's very popular at the time that this film came out. He's obviously
he is the way he looks in this film, he basically looks like a Spanish Sting, I think.
Yeah, actually, I equated him more with David Bowie during his like Aladdin, Sane, album, The Man Who Fell to Earth, The Hunger, kind of that period of time where he's kind of androgynous.
Mhm.
You know, this fellow kind of stood in for a very similar physical image. So
See, Bowie crossed my mind, but I was thinking Sting from Dune. Maybe not as chaotic, but just looks wise, just the
yeah,
alien in a suit and very androgynous looking, very rock star looking of the period.
but for being a very slender alien man in this suit, with very blondie white, almost with little red tinges, I went right to Bowie. So
And that character, he's in a suit 99.99% of the movie because if he takes the suit off, he dies. But and also you don't see much of him. You only see his face, and he doesn't speak. Instead, he sounds like Humpback Whales from Star Trek 4. So he communicates by going, and the princess can understand him. We, the audience, can't. There's no subtitles or anything. So it's kind of like a RoboCop or a Judge Dredd or whatnot. There's very limited performance that you can get through with such a character setup that's so obfuscated.
yeah, and I think that that's also again kind of part of the kind of I don't want to say charm, but some of the entertainment value and some of the quality of the film that sets it apart from some other kind of B films, I think.
I'd say it's kind of both a blessing and a curse because we can't understand the alien. Princess Alba basically interprets for him. So anytime he says something, she replies back to basically like saying what he said back to him. Oh, you can't take off your armor because you can't breathe the air. Or, oh, this is your spaceship full of animals or whatever. So that's how we learn of his motives. But anytime she's not around, we don't know what he's thinking, which is kind of I think sad because he's a literal outsider, and usually
Yeah.
a lot of these films the outsider comes into town, disrupts something, and we want to know what he's thinking of, especially at the end of the film. There's this kind of quandary where the princess is like, that Harvey Keitel's here and he is willing to die for me to win my love. What are you willing to do? And aside from us saying, girl, you're playing games, but this is medieval times, so things are a bit more chivalry and romantic. The alien, he's an alien, and this stuff doesn't concern him, or at least I don't think this. He could probably use a laser gun and blast these people to oblivion, and so this is, I don't know, maybe it's beneath him, I don't know, but basically he doesn't want to fight Harvey Keitel's character because why should he? There's nothing for him to prove or anything, except for maybe the princess who takes umbrage to all this. And so when the alien takes off, where is that moment where the alien is now reflecting, oh man, maybe I need to turn my spaceship around. I really love her. I need to fight for her and all that stuff. The Han Solo moment at the end of Star Wars where he comes back to help Luke at the Death Star. Where is the inner thoughts of I need to do what's right or whatever. That's like the only bad thing about the film is we don't get those moments with the alien, and so we're never sure of his motives. On the other hand, we are very clear cut on everyone else's motives. They lay it out.
Yeah, we definitely get their voices with no problem.
I'd say before we talk about the characters, because this is a character film for sure. I did want to bring up 3 other films that this movie kind of reminded me of, and you probably maybe thought of these two, but like The Spaceship was very Close Encounters of the Third Kind-ish, where it's very bright and very not as scale modeled good looking, but it's mostly like a light display. And it travels around like that, so it's very light centric, and so that made me think of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which would have come out 6 years prior or something.
Yeah, because I think that was late 70s that came out. Yeah, I really got a sense of there was quite a few movies that influenced this, as well as fitting in very nicely with some of the other films of the times. So yeah, definitely that one.
Maybe
But
a
it
little
had-
ET, a little.
Yeah, I don't really remember the spaceship from ET. I just think of, you know, the bright light. So I mean, like even Fire in the Sky, the one with oh, the story about the hills being abducted, communion, things like that, where you get more of that bright light.
Well, it's funny because Fire in the Sky did come out about 10 years later, but that movie is scary as heck. But the movie could have legitimately gone that route. When the princess disappears under the water and then comes back later, we don't actually see what transpires on the ship, which is another one of those, you know, gaps in the film of we don't know what the alien's thinking. Why does he fall in love with her? Well, all we gather is she's either abducted or she drowns and is saved, one of the two, and is freed. And the alien falls in love with her in the process, but we don't see any of that. So because she comes back kind of traumatized and dazed and whatnot, my mind did go to, oh my God, is this movie going to turn into Fire in the Sky? Is this alien actually evil and it's harvesting body parts? And no, it doesn't go there. But there is that brief moment of this could be like Communion, Fire in the Sky, and all that other stuff. Yeah.
But instead it takes the twist, and this is where you get, you know, a little bit of the humor and the more lightheartedness. She's traumatized because she has found the man of her dreams. You know, her father has been saying that, well, you know, you're going to have to find a good prince, you know, and settle down and be, you know, the princess that you are supposed to be. And of course, you know, she is, as Nick said during his plot synopsis, she is kind of a rebel. She's meant to be in her probably late teens.
Immature.
And, you know, she's immature. She's a bit spoiled. You know, and of course she's going to, you know, have some wild oats to sow, you know, yeah, to sneak away from the castle to just be free from, you know, as we see at the very early part of the film, you know, she wants to be able to kind of frolic around and experience life. And her father's like, no, you need to be a good princess. You need to be a good daughter. You need to stay at the castle. So naturally, she is going to try and get away from the castle. So that was one movie.
Another one, Outlander, with Jim Caviezel.
Oh, okay. I didn't have that on my list, but that's
We watched that one together when we first moved to California. Yeah, but that movie is basically retelling a Beowulf, but it has Jim Caviezel, Jesus from Passion of Jesus, you know, crash landing in Viking times in a spaceship.
I saw that years ago. That I forgot all about that movie.
I want to revisit it. I remember I think we liked it, but I think we were both kind of shocked at how it didn't do too much with the sci-fi stuff. But you know, he goes back to his ship to craft weapons from it to fight, you know, the Grindel, which is an alien that was, you know, he accidentally set loose or something. But that whole, you know, alien coming to Viking times, you know, basically here's alien coming to medieval Spanish times. And while the Jim Caviezel film is, if I recall, a bit more on the violent side, you know, typically Vikings are a little violent, as we learned last month when they fought the Tartars. Not this film so much, but the idea, you know, that probably branches out into the whole, you know, ancient aliens type stuff, aliens coming into the past to give technology and all that stuff. So, but yeah, I thought of Outlander a little bit.
okay. And what's your third film?
Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh, okay.
This movie, okay, so there is it's not like completely satire like the Holy Grail is, but there is a sequence that is totally, it's a Monty Python skit, but there is a bridge that's being guarded by the Green Knight. And I don't know if this is a reference to Sir Gawain in the Green Knight from Arthurian stuff. Arthurian studies is not my forte. It could just be he's just the Green Knight, but who knows? Someone that's smarter than me could probably, you know, deduce Arthurian stuff from it, you know, matter of England. But anyway, the Green Knight, he guards a bridge, and he doesn't. He challenges everyone that tries to cross the bridge. And the thing is he's not very good at it. Anytime someone shows up, they're able to pass by him either by not even tricking him. He's just really
Just their argument, the way that they frame, oh, well, we're not here to fight you. They leverage the fact that they're actually trying to get to the princess. And of course, you know, the Green Knight is kind of infatuated with the princess and indebted to her. So of course that seems to be the password to get by him.
Yeah, first the princess tries to get by him, and then she's like, I'm the princess. And he's like, oh, I'm totally, you know, in your service. So she gets past. And then Klaus Kinski tries to get past, and he's like, oh, I work for the princess. Oh, go on through. And then
You have Clever.
yeah, then Clever and the priest walk by, and they're like, oh yeah, we're off to save the princess. And the knight's like, oh, I failed her. And then there's another sequence where like an army of troops led by Clever, you know, to go slay the dragon, and the knight is off doing his
His business.
his business in the bushes. It can't stop him. So he's not exactly the brightest bulb, but this is a reoccurring thing that happens 4 times in the film. And then at the end of the film, he gets his horse and weapon stolen by the alien. And so the Green Knight shows up at the end. It's like, ah, there's my horse. Do you guys know who took him? And, you know, the alien's not in his armor anymore. So everyone's like, whoa. But anyway, it's like a combination of the Black Knight from Monty Python, except he doesn't get his limbs hacked off, and of the troll guarding the bridge of, you must answer me these questions 3. This character feels exactly like a Monty Python character in that regard, and I thought it was funny. I was hoping that the Green Knight would have, you know, his moment of, you know, his false victory, but alas, he's off to you know, on his adventure to chase the dragon, which is in space now. The spaceship's in space. He doesn't know that, so he puts his thumb in the wind. He's like, ah, it went that way, and that's what he does. And so, Godspeed, Green Dragon. I'm Green Knight.
And I had a different take on the Green Knight. I actually thought he an endearing and comedy relief type of character. But I actually immediately thought back to the movie Labyrinth from 1986, and all those that might remember Sir Didymus. He was the little dog fox
that rode a dog.
That rode the dog, and he was always trying to protect and, you know, defend the bridge, and he was not effective through the entire film. So I just thought, oh my gosh, here's that little doggy, but in human form. And I really love Labyrinth. So I thought that was actually kind of an interesting thing. And that Labyrinth came out in 1986. So I don't know if somebody on that cast or crew saw Star Knight and said, we will do the Green Knight. We will do our version of the Green Knight.
See, I got Labyrinth vibes too, but I forgot about the dog on the dog. That character is awesome. But no, I thought Princess Alba was very much like Jennifer Connelly's character for Labyrinth, where, you know, she's, you know, a teen that's very much into the magic and romance, and is very, you know, immature, and, you know, wants to be carried away by the Goblin King and carried away by the knight or whatever. So I kind of equated her to Jennifer Connelly's character a little bit.
Oh, ouch.
Well, that seems like an attitude, not like looks or anything, because Jennifer Connelly is, you know, the greatest actress ever because she was in Dark City. But
to me, I feel like her motivations wasn't to try to get with the Goblin King. I think she's enchanted by him at one point and loses her way and her focus. But I think she's a much different character than Princess Alba.
I guess what I'm meaning is they both are enchanted by you know, stories. You know, Princess Alba's coming from a more chivalric background, where, you know, she has the stories of knights and dragons and princesses and stuff, while Sarah from Labyrinth has
Well,
lavish.
she has a more theatrical background. I think her real mother is a theater actress. So, I mean, I think there's similar motivations, but very different resulting type of attitudes and things like that. I actually got vibes in more so from The Man Who Fell to Earth, which I mentioned earlier. And that's mostly from the visual, the idea of this very tall, slender, humanoid man who comes to Earth and ends up kind of integrated in, happenstance type of way. But I was really looking at the visual aspect, David Bowie and Miguel Bose, as the alien, very kind of similarly roles.
Hey, it's possible that after the movie concludes, the alien who's now a knight and he has part of a kingdom and everything could succumb to all the same vices that David Bowie did in The Man Who Fell to Earth.
Maybe so. We don't know. Maybe that's a sequel. And then the other movie, obviously in the 80s, we had a lot of fantasy films. We also had a number of films where the alien comes to Earth, usually more in a contemporary time. So obviously I thought of Starman from John Carpenter back in 1984. As the alien coming to Earth and not really being able to communicate, but because through his, special abilities, he's able to learn about love, and, to drive fast through a yellow stoplight, and learn languages and knowledge and things like that. And, again, kind of a love story, charming, some comedic type of moments in the film. So I kind of got that. Sorry, kitty cat has to sit on the keyboard, so she's getting down. So that was one of the films that I kind of took in comparison.
See, I thought you would say, because it's both fantasy and romance, that you would have gone with Lady Hawk.
Lady Hawk is a good one, but
a little bit of Lady Hawk.
Yeah,
The medieval
but again,
romance.
yeah, and I really kind of latched on to the alien because the main characters Boceus and Clever aren't like completely likable. And and I know we'll talk about the characters here in a minute, so I don't want to go too far down, but I really did kind of latch into the alien and his being an outsider and kind of being kept as an outsider. So I kind of looked more to some of that. There really wasn't a lot of mythology, which I equate more with Lady Hawk. So that's why I didn't really think of that movie. But it's in that same time frame. So again, this film kind of fits nicely with a lot of the other films that we are more familiar with.
Yeah, so it's not, it's sword and sorcery of the 80s, but not the barbarian style, but more of the Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, Lady Hawk style. Even though it's an alien, I wouldn't even call this a sword and planet film per se, because it's all medieval Earth. And the alien, he's not like a buff guy, he's not a John Carter or anything. He's not like, this isn't like Krull, where it's going from planet to planet, or ice pirates or anything like that. It's just, that's kind of the tone of the film. It's whimsical 80s. Now, it's funny, we don't get introduced to the alien, who for all purposes is the hero of the film, and I'm using that in air quotes because this movie doesn't really have a normal, here is the main hero per se, and it also doesn't have a main bad guy per se. But we don't get introduced to the alien until like 20 minutes into the film, and so when you're watching the film, you're trying to figure out who's the main protagonist here. Like, okay, it's Klaus Kinski. Well, no, it's not really. It's Harvey Keitel. No, it's not really Harvey Keitel.
Yeah, it's neither one. It really seems like for having such big names, and particularly like Harvey Keitel, which is like his his stardom is shooting upward,
Mhm.
while Klinsky's is kind of slowing
Yep.
down and coming down. You have these two trajectories of celebrities, actors, that have been in a lot of films, and yet they're not in this film a lot. It's interesting, and it was something that I kind of grappled with because I didn't. It made it kind of it made it a challenge to kind of hook on to
Right.
who was really the main protagonist. And I'll be honest, Princess Alba, she was the damsel in distress,
Mhm.
and oh my God, she nagged a lot.
This
And
is
I'm
true.
like, I could just not
Well-
really get into her as kind of,
She's like the Princess Zelf, whatever, from Spaceballs.
okay, I don't really remember.
You don't remember
that.
Spaceballs? Yeah, she's the Princess Leia equivalent in Spaceballs, who the Bill Pullman as Han Solo rescues, and she complains the entire, you gotta carry all my luggage, and I'm a spoiled girl, and that's Mercedes.
So, yeah, she was definitely more in that camp.
But you're right. The movie, it takes a while to figure out if you're trying to look for the black and white, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. It's really not clear cut. Like when you're first introduced to Kinski as the alchemist, Kinski, he's never a good guy. The only role I could think of him as like a good guy is Fitzcarraldo, which is an amazing film if folks haven't seen
Yeah.
it. So I'm like, okay, he's an alchemist. He's employed the Conde. He's really like, Jafar from Aladdin or something like that. He's behind the throne, vying for power and stuff. He has all this set up to do that. But he's not. He's actually like a sympathetic character. Actually wants to help the princess. He has scenes like, "Yo, Conde, I need more money for my, Elixir of Life project and stuff." It has all these beats that he's going to be a bad guy. But no, he has scenes like he comes back to the princess, like, "I visited the alien, and he's totally in love with you," which is weird to see Klaus Kinski having like girl talk, uh, which totally happens. And so Kinski, he's not the bad guy. So you get the Keitel, who, okay, he has all the makings of like a clumsy, but the main hero, but he's really clumsy.
He's not necessarily clever
he's
either.
not, yeah,
He doesn't quite live up to his name.
No, he does not. He's a little, I don't want to say greedy, but he's a little greedy. He's more about image. He wants to be a knight, he's all about that. But the way his character is introduced, kind of like, he's very, even though this is French in the movie we're talking about Spanish, but there's like a Three Musketeer vibe to him, there's a swashbuckling vibe to him, except that he's not a good fighter. He's a clumsy knight. He falls asleep while standing guard and falls on his own equipment. But the thing is he's also not a jerk either. I'd hate to say, because there's this, in Disney films, his type of role would be like the antagonistic jerk that wants the main lady or whatever. And he kind of fills that role, except it's not nefarious, I don't think, because he's actually in a very Don Quixote sort of way.
Yes,
There's
I
a
was
lot of
thinking-
Don Quixote going on here. He is
Yeah.
very ruled by chivalry, but like chivalry to the extreme that it's like a hindrance to him. I guess kind of like Don Quixote. So, but
Yeah,
so-
he definitely, I think, fills that role of
Mhm.
Don Quixote. I think that he is so concerned about wanting to be knighted and the image that comes with that through part of the film, he commissions to have a special set of armor created for him that looks very distinctive. It actually gave me vibes to some of the armor that would have been showcased in Excalibur, which was from 1981.
Another movie that fits in the period.
Yeah. And, I don't think that he really had, he talks about marrying the princess, but there's no chemistry. And I don't know that really is his ultimate goal as much as wanting to be a knight. I think that's really
she's
what
part
he
of the
wants.
package of the
I think
knighthood.
the image.
Right,
The
because
image.
he
Yeah.
goes up to her and he bows down, "Oh, princess, you're so lovely," and everything, and she rebuffs him. We've seen that play out, but it's not like he's really in love with her. He's in love with the concept of, I am a knight, I have a princess, and that's his, which isn't necessarily bad per se. It doesn't make him an evil character. That's the
No,
weird thing is
you never feel that he's evil in any sort of way, or, you know, even an
threat.
anti-hero or a threat. He's just kind of like, he's not very effective. And he it's kind of interesting. One thing that kind of like broke for me every time that he spoke was that he had an unusual speech cadence. Like he was really trying. This is Harvey Keitel, who's a very good actor, and I'm like, he's trying to get into the whole Middle Ages, so he really has an interesting speech cadence, like he's really trying to take in and really make this part his. Even though it's very much a comedy, and it really is kind of stilted in comparison to everybody else.
Well, it is still, but also again, that might be Harvey Keitel not acting his best, but also might be the image. I want to be a knight. This is how I need to talk, you know, and stuff like that.
Like everything he does is in service to be a knight. But I will say he had great hair.
He looks the part.
Yeah, he's very good looking. You know, back in the 80s, he was a very good looking man. So
our next character is I have here Lupo, who is the main priest for the Conde, and he's not necessarily a bad, even though he's probably the contender for the most bad guy in the film. But again, he's the main priest for the Conde, and I keep saying Conde, but you know, the equivalent of the king. You know, I looked this up. You know, back in Spain in the medieval period, this would have been the landowner or the, you know, prince, regent, whatever of the area, but that's the Conde. So anyway, the priest guy, you know, he is really governed by the religious doctrine of the period, which I think this movie is pre-Spanish Inquisition, but it's kind of that little bit of zeal to it. He thinks every problem can be solved by, you know, repent, God stuff and whatnot. So, but it's definitely over the top. Definitely like, I gotta exorcise the castle of demons and stuff. But so he might be the most adversarial character, but again, he's not acting like greedy or like evil like you would normally see like in a like a Spanish Inquisition type film where you have like a Lance Henriksen in Pit and the Pendulum, for instance, where like that's definitely a bad guy. I think he's just taking his profession very seriously to comedic results, and he's just operating that way. Oh, science is bad. Let me wreck the alchemist's lab. You know, that's, you know, bad things per se, but again, he's not being ruled by something evil or nefarious or greedy, or he wants more power or something like that. He's just a really goofy priest, and I don't think people take him seriously, but he would probably be considered the main bad guy. But again, I think it's because this is also a comedy, and every character is, except for the alien, has a buffoonery aspect to him that it makes it hard to kind of make these folks bad guys. Even Princess Alba's dad, you know, the king, the Conde, he's really greedy. He's overtaxing his people. He's a very Prince John type character. But again, he's not like super evil. He actually legitimately cares about his daughter. He wants to rescue her and promises land to get her back and stuff. There's moments he actually legitimately, I think, wants to try to be a good dad, even though he realizes he's not, and he's got more important things to do and whatnot. So even though he's a Prince John type character, again, he's a little greedy, but he's not like super evil. And what evil he does have is, again, comedic. Like when he forces the townsfolk to attend his daughter's funeral, they all got spears in their back. You know, that's more, you know, it's definitely for laughs for the audience because people don't really respect him, I guess. I know, but he's also, again, he's not a threat. You know, all these folks to the alien, who is I guess our good guy, are not threats to him. So that's why the movie's kind of odd that way.
I hate to interrupt, but we only have a couple more minutes.
Oh,
okay.
What happens at around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, give or take a little while, is our dogs start barking, and
Oh,
it's gonna happen very soon. So can we
Okay.
please, to be continued?
I think we can, do you want to try to wrap up in the next couple of minutes?
okay, we can super wrap up. So okay, so wrapping up, I would say if there's themes with this film, the themes are rejection of authority, because everyone like rejects the religious authority, rejects the Conde's authority, the princess runs away, the townsfolk don't listen to the king or whatever, even when he sends his town crier out there, they're like, we don't care about you anymore. So there's a lot of authority rejection in it. There's a lot of, I'd say, some religious themes in there, which also probably goes in the Man That Fell to Earth. The spaceship, there's mentions of Noah's Ark. The alien comes back, so there's a resurrection angle. The alien actually has like a halo behind him at the end of the film. So if you're getting into that RoboCop religious vibe there. And everyone lies in this film, by the way. Everyone fibs. And I think that's just because during the period, you can embellish everything. No one actually sees the dragon, but they're like, oh, a fire-breathing dragon came. And I saw him take him away.
And honestly, I took that as more as like somebody framed it, even though that's not necessarily what they saw. And this, if we had more time, it would be a point that I would bring up, is the idea of the dragon and how that's portrayed within the various characters, and the fact that people rationalize it away. I actually think that Fray Lupo is an interesting character, because of the fact that he's very logical and rational, and yet we do see religion at time, and I think it's kind of an interesting subtext how religion can become very warped. And I think him as a character and the way he responds to the idea of a dragon, while everybody else is a bit more rational about it, maybe they lied to kind of perpetuate, but he becomes kind of fanatical in his as a result of this dragon.
And he lies to himself when they find the scroll in the alchemist's thing. He purposely misreads it so he can have his version of things going on. I guess the other weird last point to bring up is there's no blood in this film. No one dies in the film. There is a boob and a butt from the princess, really briefly. It's extremely kid friendly. And I do think, because of the religious angle in it, I am no expert on Spain and history, but I know a little bit, Spanish Inquisition and all that fun stuff. So I can only assume that this might be a slight parody or commentary on that type of stuff in Spain's past, but I just don't know.
I think if we had more time to delve into the director, he was known as the father of comedy. So he's involved in Spanish cinema at an interesting time. One last piece that I would say with regards to film: excellent music, especially the end credits. Great music. I didn't get a chance to see who the composer is, but music definitely fits with any of the other fantasy type films in the 80s.
It has
Definitely
that
works.
electronic fantasy aspect to it,
Yeah.
Like I would say, last thing is, we watched it in the 50 movie box set. I would revisit this with like a Blu-ray print. I think there's probably some cool effects there that we couldn't see because this is basically a VHS copy ported to DVD. So it has that hue to it, and everything's a little muted, and there's a lot of day for night sequences that look like Manos the Handsome Fade.
So any boutique distributor out there that wants to, redo this film, we're here to talk about it some more.
Film. I to sum it up, it was extremely enjoyable.
Yeah.
I'm gonna dig out my collection somewhere in a box in the bin in the basement. And if I could locate it, I will watch that film. If not, I will see if it's available on DVD or something and watch it.
It's probably, since
It's
one
available on YouTube.
Yeah,
it's
available on YouTube. Okay, I will watch it on YouTube.
I hate to say it, when movies make it to this format, there's usually a YouTube or a Tubi copy not too far away.
Yeah, but you can see it on YouTube.
And how can people find the scholars and enter your world?
Well, I don't do social media very much. So you can find me on Facebook. I'm usually posting about my cats. And I do have an author page at Amazon. So you can go check out other stuff that I've written. Nick is actually the social media butterfly and can tell you where to find all of our previous episodes on Scholars, as well as all the stuff that he's doing.
Yeah, I'm at nickdiak.com. You can go there, post my articles there, news of what I do, what Michele does. There's a giant archive of all of our podcasts and stuff. So easy to reach out to us through there for sure.
And before we go, I will invite you to a new project. It's called tentatively Sword and Sandals Superheroes, Strange Science, and Outer Space. So we're gonna have some panels on that, and you guys are excellent in your reviews. So I'd love you on the panels. The first one's going to be Hercules against the Moon Men,
Oh,
and then
cool.
Giant
Oh.
Metropolis. So those.
Oh, that's the Bella Cortez one, Giant Metropolis.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, definitely. We'd love to be involved.
Fantastic. As always, it's a pleasure speaking with you and listening to you. And I'm really sorry we had to cut this short. But you made me want to find this movie and watch it soon and not at some point later in time. So thank you so very much. Have a wonderful evening and good luck with your garden.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Hercules. Have a great evening, everyone.
You too. Take care.